Hello, friends. Welcome to the Cold War Prepper. This is Lee, and this is our Monday night on a Wednesday night. Remember, we've had to reschedule these because Helen and I are in a class on Monday evenings at the church. This is a class we're taking. The seven deadly sins and the seven lively virtues. So you overcome a sin with a virtue, and that's where we are on Monday nights. So we're rescheduling it to Wednesday nights. And so this is kind of the free form discussion, the where we interview people, and so we want to get that taken care of. Still looking for great people to interview. Some of the things I would like to interview people on is get somebody who's great at foraging. I think I have, prepping with Sarge that's one of his specialties. I might ask him. Would also like to get somebody who's really good with hi, Stray Kitten. Somebody who's really good with essential oils. And herbalist, how can we use herbs in taking care of diseases and injuries and things like that. Hello, Little Lone Prepper. Hello, Scott. And then I would also like to interview, just people with general expertise in different areas around the prepping industry. And so, just especially, and I can learn a lot from them too. So that's kind of where we are. So I had mentioned last night, I did get all those things added back into the show notes for last night. So the Bill Still 2-hour documentary on the Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum, the Wizard of Oz. Give it time. I think the first hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes of the movie is actually setting up why it became what it was, the Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Hello, Karen. And he talks about the history of money, especially with the British. And then he moves on into why the symbology and why the Yellow Brick Road and the Silver Slippers and the Cowardly Lion and all this kinds of stuff. So that was William Jennings Bryan, by the way, was the name of that the lion who is represented by the Cowardly Lion. Little Lone Prepper, gosh, I know you've been putting up all these links and you're just doing a phenomenal job. So have you, Scott. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. So anyhow, I had mentioned that I might talk. I also put up links for Claire's Kitchen and her channel here. I also put up a link for a couple books, the two that I have. So Claire's Country Kitchen Cookbook, Great Depression Cooking or something like that. And oh gosh, I forget the other one is. You got so many books. So I put those links in there in case you're interested in things that happened during the Great Depression. There was a fantastic comment. I forget who did it, but read through all the comments for last night, because somebody put in a comment on two more books that I have looked at on Amazon, but I have not purchased. But those are strongly recommended by this person who made the comment. So I would take a look at that. Hello, Clarity Jane 31. So a lot of good information in the comments. Thank you very, very much. Karen, is that Lemoine or Lemoyne? But anyhow, welcome. Good to see you as well. One of the things that I had mentioned last night was I might talk about chemtrails this evening. And somebody sent me some information. So I had everything all set up. I was going to do it. And I said, why am I going to discuss chemtrails? And so I prayed about it last night. Somebody sent me a link. I watched it. After 10 minutes, I said, this is bull crap. There's nothing scientific in it at all. They had senile old generals who said that B-17s in World War II didn't have contrails. They had chemtrails. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to talk about chemtrails. I'm not going to talk about contrails. I was led to a quote by St. Thomas Aquinas. And St. Thomas Aquinas said that to a believer, proof is not necessary. And to a non-believer, any proof is insufficient. So regardless of what I say, if you believe in chemtrails, regardless of what I say, I'm not going to change your mind. And because of my analytical background, unless you can give me concrete scientific data. And I mean, this was a 2-hour video last night. I only made through 10 minutes of. I'm going to reject it. So we're not going to change each other's minds. All it's going to do is cause confrontation. I don't want to cause confrontation. I don't want to cause diametrically opposed views on anything. I want to bring us together. I want to unite us. So on this one, we'll just have to disagree. If you're a chemtrail supporter, more power to you. I am not. I do believe that there are instances of cloud seeding. I do believe that there's instances of chemicals being put out by aircraft when they are putting out forest fires. I believe that there are chemical agents that are being spread out over the oceans when there's an oil spill to congeal the oil so that they can clean it up. I believe that those are all low altitude type things that are done by aircraft. As a matter of fact, one of the aircraft that they showed the patent on it, that's exactly what the patent was for. And, so that's what I believe. I believe that there are chemicals being sprayed. They're at low levels for good benefits. I don't believe that there's, this thing that every time you see a contrail in the sky, it's chemtrails. I just don't believe that. So I am not going to do anything about that. And we're not going to discuss it. You have your beliefs. I have my beliefs. And we need to focus on something that brings us together, not something that separates us. So that's just, I think where we'll leave it at that. You can believe what you want to, and I'll believe what I want to. Somebody else said that they would like to add this book. And I noticed that the shippers, when I shipped it last time, I guess from Fort Huachuca here when I retired from the Army, I got packing tape on it somehow or other. And so, but somebody had mentioned that they wanted to discuss this. So I was taking a look through it because I haven't read it now since I retired from the Army in 91. It had to be before 1991. And taking a look at it, there's an awful lot of bushcraft and recipe type stuff in here. I'm going to have to do a lot of work in order to make this something that we could discuss in a good way over the StreamYard and the live. So I will begin working on that. We will do it. I just have to figure out a way, because we'll bypass probably most of those recipes and things like that, and find out how we can do that, how we can present it to where it's an effective tool for you. It is a phenomenal book, along with the Foxfire books. I had the entire Foxfire series. I started buying the Foxfire series. I got a re-enlistment bonus back in 1974, $10,000. So I got $10,000 cash, and they sent me back to Monterey for basic Russian. My first 4 years in the Army, I was an Indonesian translator, and then I re-enlisted. Got $10,000 to go back to DLI for a year of basic Russian. So on a 4-year tour, on a 4-year re-enlistment. So I thought that was fantastic. But I bought this on Cannery Row in Monterey, California, in I'm going to say it had to be 1974. Or no, it was the Foxfire books I bought in 74. That's what it was. I started buying the Foxfire books with my re-enlistment bonus in 1974. So that's kind of where that is. So I don't have anything in particular, although I will tell you, I did get an alert. We are under a tornado watch here in Central Texas right now. We're anticipating quarter-size hail to hit probably around 9 o'clock. And it's not looking like it's going to be a good evening. So hopefully all that is scheduled to hit right as we conclude our live this evening. It's already getting really, really dark outside. We had a pretty nice day. But then I took a look, and as I sat down, so I think I've told you I'm on St. Vincent de Paul, which is the Catholic charity type of organization, equivalent to kind of like a Goodwill. And so we go out and talk to neighbors when they have issues. And so I was out on one of those assignments this evening and trying to help a neighbor. And just, gosh, there's so many people in need. And so thank you, all of you, for watching the commercials all the way through, because, I give 60% of anything I make on this channel, 60 to 80%, depending upon how things are going, to different charities that take care of people who aren't as fortunate as we are. So I want to thank you all very, very much for watching, for participating, and for donating to that. So That just that warms your heart to know that you're doing something that helps other people. Um, Let me see here. YouTube off grid with Doug and Stacy video uh, today. Doctor speaking. Don't know how many years ago the doctor gave this info. Uh, I don't know what that was, but Doug and Stacy, are they the two that are in Arizona? I don't know. There's a couple in Arizona. I watched for a little while, but not too long. Um, so let me tell you what is going on and what did not get reported. So I did go to USGS to try to verify it or whatever. Mary Greeley News came across with some reporting that there's been an earthquake swarm in Yellowstone and that they did have a 4.1 earthquake in the Yellowstone area. And so that's always concerning because, that kind of shakes that caldera and you don't like to, shake Coca-Cola bottles. And that's basically what it is. So it could blow its cap almost any time. But, we'll keep our fingers crossed that that's not going to happen tonight or in the near future. Um, okay, I guess I need to get in on this conversation back from the beginning because that looks totally lost to me. Uh, okay, so it just appears that it's all based off of this discussion on that channel. Um, and I was gone to most of today, so I didn't do too many things. Friday is our senior trip, and we're going down to the Nimitz Museum in Fredericksburg, Texas. So Chester Nimitz, of course, was the SINCPAC Commander-in-Chief Pacific for our naval forces in World War II, and he came from Central Texas. So that's kind of great. Um, Let me see what else. Been raining off and on all day at Fort Worth. Yeah, and you are at the northern end of this red sector that I'm seeing. Let me see if I can get it up here on Climb. You're at the northern end of it, and we are at the southern end of it. So, we're kind of in that primary zone for discomfort this evening. Where are you, Climb? There's Climb. Well, it looks like it's gone past Fort Worth and still kind of over us, but that's going to be another one of those nights. It was just a little over 2 years ago, the 21st, so 5 days ago, that my car was totaled by hail. So I don't want that to happen again. Um, Yeah, I heard that. I heard grapefruit-sized hail in the hill country just west of here, and I would not want to be any part of that. Um, so that earthquake swarm that is happening in the western edge of the Pacific Plate, that's continuing, and it is kind of wrapping around. It I didn't see anything going westward, but then again. Dutch Sense is predicting that we're going to have a couple pretty strong ones, 4.6s to 5.2s along Alaska and the West Coast. So, be on your toes for that. Make sure. Uh, so I would encourage all of you. The video I did about earthquake preparedness, and I would encourage you to go read Acer Redrum's comments on that. I was trying to keep it down to where it's less than 15 minutes, and there's a lot more information that's available concerning safety with earthquakes. And so, I mentioned as an example, make sure you have your bookshelf secured so that it doesn't topple. And Acer did a fantastic job of adding a whole bunch of other things you want to take into consideration, china cabinets and anything else that's freestanding. Make sure that it's anchored or somewhere topple proof, and that as one of the things that most people don't understand, but as a building structure collapses, if you got a pane of glass and that building structure is collapsing on that pane of glass, it's going to shatter. And when it shatters, it's an explosion. And so it just throws shards of glass everywhere. It's worse than a hand grenade. And the reason I say it's worse than a hand grenade is because glass cannot be picked up by X-ray, whereas fragments from a hand grenade, metallic fragments, can be picked up by an X-ray. So when you get a whole bunch of glass shards thrown into your body, it's very difficult for surgeons to find that piece and get it out. They have to do a lot of probing and a lot extra cutting to remove glass shards than they do any metal shards. So being away from windows is going to be one of the most important things you can do. Just you don't want to get, and being away from any open cabinets with glassware or china or anything like that. You don't want to be anywhere close to that. You stay away from these things that cannot be picked up if they penetrate your body by an X-ray. Amazing Grandma, how are you? Welcome. So glad to see you. And if you want to, that would be fantastic. If you would hit that subscribe button down below and give us a like, that's always beneficial to the channel. So anyhow, go back and please read his comments on that video about the earthquake. I think that will do you an awful lot of good. So I'm also opening up now for suggestions on people to interview. I would like to interview somebody. Some of the things I think are going to be critical in a post-apocalyptic environment are going to be herbalists, essential oil people. How can we have alternative forms of medicine? And then maybe an acupuncturist. I was trying to talk to my acupuncturist, and she said that the hospital won't let her, that she's not allowed to do things like that. I would like to talk to possibly an ER nurse, about what are some of the things that we're going to be doing. When I talk about injuries in a post-apocalyptic environment, I quite often go to the statistics that we use. I don't think there's going to be that much trauma as far as gunshots. It's just my personal opinion. I think the vast majority of us are going to be more exposed to injuries and illnesses. Now, the injuries are going to be the same injuries of what we see with camping. So when people go out camping, they're not used to building fires, cooking on fires. The fact that that pot doesn't have a handle that was away from the gas flames or the electric burner, that it's close to the flames of the actual fire. So you end up with a lot of burns. Number one injury in camping is burns. Number two are going to be cuts and puncture wounds, because people don't know. You carve when you're doing your feather stick, you carve away from you. You don't cut towards you, because if you cut towards you and you don't have purchase on that stick and it slips, you're going to get yourself cut. They don't understand how to chop safely with an axe or a hatchet. Thank you, Kay. That was very kind of you. So she saw me on Nutrient Survival's interview. That was fantastic, and it was great talking with Eric and Becky before as well. Of course, I showed Eric something that was given to me. My daughter's godfather is a USMA graduate, and so class of 1984. And so anyhow, so we were talking about that before the show, and so that was really great. They're great people. That's a great product as well. As you can tell, I like to advertise their products. I also advertise Jace, so cutting cuts, slips, falls, falling. How do you walk with the knife? How do you exchange a knife? How do you open and close a folding knife? All those are going to lead towards cutting and stabbing injuries. And then, of course, broken bones. What's funny is heat injuries and cold injuries, frostbite and the heat stroke were also in the top 10. And then also in there were insects and animal bites, animals, including reptiles. And what else was in there? Of course, dysentery, not sanitizing things. One of the things we got to take a look at as we look at a post-apocalyptic environment is, we're going to be using a lot more what we might call an outhouse situation, and we're not going to have immediately available to us hand washing equipment. So how do you have hand washing equipment? How do you keep your hands sanitary after going out to the outhouse so that you don't transfer that towards any food or drinking water or anything like that? And so that's going to be a critical thing that I think you have to consider. Um, I have an email out to Skinnymatic. As a matter of fact, I recommended his products. He has a fantastic IFAC. And so a couple of videos ago, I recommended that to him. He hasn't responded, but let me tell you something. These guys who have far more followers than I do, I get 78 emails a day. I can imagine what they get. So I've got to find a way to get through that filter and get in better to him, and maybe have him on here and talk about his stuff. I wholeheartedly agree with you there. I'm going to try this. Dusel Invictus. Deuce Sol. Deuce Sol. So is that two Sun Invictus? I don't know. But anyhow, I forget where I was. That's okay. Maybe it wasn't that important. David Lynn Prepper's in the house. We're trying to get his channel up to I'd like to get him up to 1,000 people, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah. So if you can put David Lynn Prepper's links there as well. One of the things we try to do is we try to support each other. One of the things we're not allowed to do on YouTube is promote and say, hey, I'll follow you if you follow me, or my people will follow you if you'll follow them. We're not allowed to do that. They'll close down your channel real quick. They don't want you to do that. However, I strongly encourage you. We have an awful lot of fantastic contributors here who follow me, and I will tell you that I try to follow those who are content creators as much as possible. And I would hope that you would take that as a clue and also follow a lot of these fantastic creators as much as possible. Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you, James. Let me write that down. Okay. I've been told that dead time is not good for lives, and so you have to keep talking. And I'm not of the capability where I can talk and think and write all at the same time. So Pioneer Magazine, I'll have to look that up and see if there's any contact information for her. Thank you. Fantastic suggestion there, James. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you, Holly. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to cause any division. I'd rather cause unity. One of the things we probably need to talk about, and we're going to be talking about this book tomorrow night. So this is volume 6 of A Americans Surviving the Survivalist series, Enforcing Home. Morgan gets appointed as sheriff, then he got some major things going on. So this is, and his second daughter gets injured in this book. And so it kind of sets the stage for book 7 about the retribution that's going to happen as a result of his daughter getting injured. And this one is by think of it as the Boston Marathon type of an event. They do that in the in the market that's just coming back up, and so the kids see this guy just drop a satchel, and one's running after him trying to get him to come back because he forgot his satchel, and the other daughter's running towards the satchel to grab it to take to him, and the satchel goes off, and so that kind of tells you to be on your toes, be aware of your surroundings at all times and watch what's going on around you, and are people doing things suspiciously. If you see somebody purposefully in place a backpack, don't go running to the backpack to try to take it to the person. Go try to get the person back to the backpack. If they won't go back to the backpack, make sure you get everybody else to duck and run away, duck or run away as quickly as possible. And, that's going to be a very, very important thing. I think we're going to see a lot of that during 5th generation warfare, or as the Chinese call it, unrestricted warfare. That may be one of the tools that they're going to be using for us here in the U.S. And of course, we got all the drug cartels that probably will be doing the same thing. Have you noticed that you don't see that much about MS-13? You don't see that much about the Crips and the Bloods anymore. Has anybody just kind of seriously thought, why have the Crips, the Bloods, and MS-13 gone down as far as criminal gang activities in the U.S. as far as the last 2 decades? And my suspicion is that the cartels are coming in, taking over, because remember, they were primarily distribution outlets for them. And so, the cartels have come in and they're running the operations now, and they don't have any need for the Crips, Bloods, and MS-13 like they used to. So, they aren't getting that much activity, and they're kind of dying away as a result of that. But anyhow, that's just my personal opinion. And I'm sure other people have other opinions that are probably just as valid. Holly says, yes, the cartel is running the show. And I firmly believe that. I'm from the border. And I called back to the best man at my wedding. And he's still in El Paso. And he never left the city. He graduated from UTEP and never left. And so I was talking to him about it. He says, oh, yeah, the cartel owns the city. He says, as a matter of fact, most of the cartels higher ups have their spouses and families living in El Paso, so that they're safe from any retribution by the Mexican government. So just kind of weird. Dragon Slayer, welcome. And oh no, I am so sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I kind of had the same situation. Dad was 88, and he had an artery that was partially blocked, and so they went in with the they went in through the femoral artery in the leg, and they pushed the wire up, and they're going to kind of break through this clot, and it had calcified. And so they called my sister and me into the area there, the kind of little ante room. He was on the table. We could see him. They had the X-ray machine or whatever, where we could see the actual wire going in his artery. And she said that, and the doctor looked at it, he says, now watch this. He says, see how I'm meeting this resistance when I push on it? He says, see how the wire is flexing? He says, I have to make it, you have to make a choice. We have to make a choice. Either we push real hard and try to break through that clot, and one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to break through the clot, or it's going to bust the artery itself. If it busts the artery itself, there's nothing I can do. What do you want to do? And so my sister and I both agreed that wasn't our decision to make. And so we said, why don't you stop what you're doing, have him come back, and then we were going to ask him what he wants to do. And, this is his decision, not ours. And so he decided he didn't want to risk it, and he lasted another 7 months after that. So I can empathize with where you are. That's something that just deserves our prayers. So Dragon Slayer, our prayers go out to you and your mother, and we hope that things go extremely well for you. Hello, Tofu. Welcome. Who's your prepping nurse? I need to get you on here to interview you about your perspectives on medical priorities and treatments and things that people should have stockpiled in preparation for things that are coming. So there are 3 different channels that I watch, and all 3 of them kind of today said that anticipate high inflation, hyperinflation, possible stock market collapse, bank collapse, and war here in the near future. I don't want to be an alarmist. That's what they're saying. But, I think we're getting to the point where we all realize that we need to be doing something a little bit better to get better prepared than what we are. I put out that Thrive Life had their annual spring sale. So my May 4th order, I put in a whole bunch of stuff that were on the spring sale that ended yesterday, day before yesterday, and got some stuff at 50% off. I am totally disappointed. I spent $250. I only got 6 cans. You know, when I first started this back in 2009, $100 would have gotten me what I am now spending $250 on. So, I look at the volume there of what I spent the money on, and it's just it's going to become to the point where we can't afford it. I saw an article out today that we're going to have a beef shortage, and that beef shortage is partly because of the drought. So farmers here in Texas, ranchers here in Texas, have had to cull their herds. They put a lot of their beef, a lot of their cattle on the market. We've had relatively low-priced beef because they couldn't feed them with the drought. We weren't getting the hay and the grass that we would normally have. So they sold it to market. We've had artificially low cost of beef, and they kept a very small herd as a feeder, starter herd, so that they could reproduce those and grow their herd back to size over time. Well, that's not happening. And so it looks like there may be a beef shortage here in the near future. So if you have ways that you can get beef products, or you can long-term store beef, whether that be, and gosh, this is difficult to say. I've been a prepper for 60 years, and one of the things I've always been committed to was getting as much freeze-dried long-term food storage as possible in my pantry. I am no longer giving that advice. I am no longer saying go out and buy Thrive Life, go out and buy Augustin Foods, go out and buy emergency essentials. I am not saying that anymore. I believe that we are close enough to the tipping point where things are going to get dramatic, and that to waste your money on long-term storage, stuff that's going to last out further beyond what I believe to be the impending catastrophe, is a waste of money. Canned goods, flour, rice, beans, things like that you can store and keep for the next year to 2 years. You're going to get a lot more value for your money if you just concentrate on canned goods and dry goods. And I would much rather see you spending your money there than on any long-term food storage right now. Helen just threw in not fruit. I don't know if I told you. Maybe I did tell you. I don't know. So it was time to check the rotation of our fruits. And so in our pantry room, I have a closet, and in the closet, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of plastic shelves. And so once, 1 month I'll go in and rotate one and just make sure everything's good and rotate it and everything else. Then I go to the next one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, etc. And so I went in and looked at the first one, and the first one, all of our peaches and pears had blown up, and there was mold on this one shelf. And so I went in to get that cleaned up and sanitized, and disinfectant cleaner and all that kinds of stuff. And so right outside of the closet, I have 2 IKEA aluminum 5-shelf shelving units. And one is facing this way and the other's facing this way, so I could fit them against the door, kind of like this. And they're against that wall right there where the door comes in. And I leaned on one as I was trying to wipe the mold off of this one in the closet, and my weight on the one toppled both of them, and so I had canned goods all over the place. As a matter of fact, my fishing supplies, all of my lures and everything, because I use Gogan worms and things like that, I don't want to keep those out in the garage or anywhere where they're going to be exposed to heat because they'll melt. So I keep those on the top shelf of one of those shelves. And so I had fishing supplies, hooks, lures, worms all over the place. And so that took us all the rest of the day cleaning up that mess. And then I went to Home Depot and got some L brackets and started, reinforcing all of these aluminum shelves. And then I thought, you know what I need to do? I need to reinforce this so that it's connected to the wall. And that's what gave me the idea about doing that earthquake thing that I promised the lady from Turkey that I would do it. And so as I was bolting this L frame into a stud in the wall to hold my shelving units in place, regardless of whether I press my hands on them or not, that's when I decided I would do that earthquake video. So that's kind of was kind of the end of the day for that. So wow. And oh, okay. Sounds good. I watched a real good one today. It was Glenn Beck interviewing Jonathan Kahn. And I really like a lot of the stuff that Jonathan Kahn puts out. And that was a very interesting one as well. He was talking about the return of the three false gods that were worshipped by the ancients, and a lot of the things that are going on and the symbolisms behind them and everything else. It was just unbelievable. Evidently, he's got a new book out, The Return of the Three Gods, or something like that. I would get it, but God, I've got so many books here that I need to finish reading before I order any more. It's just getting ridiculous. I'm getting so far behind on my reading. Um, wow. Hello, shenanigans. Another one, and there's a verse that I've been on three different channels, watching three different things. It's First Peter 1. What was it? The same verse has been in three different things that I've seen in the last day or two. And it's really strange that this one keeps coming up. I've seen it three times in just the last 3 days, or last 2 days. Let me see. Where is it here? I think one of them was Prepper Dog. I'm not going to be able to find it now. But anyhow, it was just amazing that the same verse came up three different times, and it was kind of encouraging. That we are here for a reason, and things are going to turn out okay as long as we have faith in ourselves, and that's one of the things we need to do is support each other and build each other up. And so, great advice. Thank you. Uh, Really? And so that's where we got it folds out into a 3 foot long or yard long muscle. That's interesting. Yeah, there's so much stuff you can learn on YouTube. It's unbelievable. Um, no. Wow. Here's an interesting fact. And so there are no natural lakes in Texas. We have one, but it's actually a wide spot in the Red River as it goes along, uh, and it feeds into the Arkansas River, and then it goes down along the Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana border. So there's a wide spot, and they call that the natural lake, the only natural lake in Texas. All the other lakes in Texas are man-made. So I was talking to a friend of mine who works for Parks and Wildlife. I said, "How come every single artificial lake I have been in Texas has water moccasins? They aren't native. How did they get here?" And he told me the theory is that birds eat the eggs and then they don't digest them. They just go right through. And so then as they're flying, they'll drop those eggs, and some of those eggs naturally fall onto water areas. And that's how then they hatch, and then you have water moccasins there close to the water. Um, so who's your prepper in there says priority is to expand her medical garden. Um, Oh, that sounds fantastic. Calamity Jane says she's canning meat. So Calamity Jane, is that pre-cooked, or do you cook it in the jar? I guess there's two different styles. One of them is pressure canning, and the other is dry canning, if I understand that correct. I'm just now getting into it. So anything you have on that is greatly appreciated because I don't know enough to even know what I'm talking about to ask you decent questions. Um, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. If nothing else, on Saturday mornings, start going to your local farmer market. I Every Saturday morning, I go to my farmer's market and I walk through just to talk to people and say hi, remind them, give them a copy of my business card. And I have a business card that says my name, Cold War Prepper, my email address, and my phone number. And I say, hey, let's hook up, and let's talk. And I just want to be familiar with them and them familiar with me, so that if anything happens, and I go to their place where they're growing things, that they won't think that I'm an obtrusive intruder, that they'll know who I am and know why I'm there, and they have a little bit of trust built up in me. I would say start doing that now. Go to your farmers markets on Saturdays in order to do that. Um, there's also there's another way, and I saw it. It was advertised on Glenn Beck's show today, and I forget the name of it, but there is a place now that you can order online, and you can get like a quarter of a cow or something like that. And they're even offering you a pound and a half of bacon if you do it, if you purchase from them, a pound and a half of bacon for free. So Diana too agrees with me. Spend your money now on things that you're going to need in the next year or two, or you can use in the next year or two, instead of spending 2 to 3 times that much to get the equivalent to last you for 25. Uh, oh no, that's terrible. Uh, we had peach trees in El Paso, and I'm in the middle here, actually just southwest of us here is the peach capital of Texas. So just west of us here is the pecan capital. Just southwest of us here is the peach capital. As a matter of fact, that's where we're going Friday on that senior tour. It's going to be to Fredericksburg, and that's considered the peach capital of Texas. Just west of here is San Saba, and San Saba is considered the pecan capital of Texas. Just west of San Saba is San Angelo, and that is the sheep and cotton capital of Texas. Now, the highest production cotton farm in the U.S. is now underwater, and that was a little town just northeast of here called Granger. And so Granger Lake now covers what used to be the most fertile cotton land in the U.S. And that was a political deal. Yeah, one of the things I'm going to tell you, this is, and I should know better. I have been in the process of replacing my old shelving units. So I had some old plastic shelving units, and I thought they were good, heavy duty stuff. So I've got these cheapo plastic ones, 5 shelf plastic ones from Home Depot. I've got one, two, three of those in the pantry room. I've got two of the black heavy duty plastic ones. That one collapsed about a year ago. And I probably had it way overweight. And then I've got two of the metal ones, and that's what I'm kind of replacing. So I've got a new metal one in that same room, and now I'm going to put a new metal, and I've got the other metal one out in the garage. I'm going to replace one of the ones in the bedroom with a new metal one. My daughter just gave me a 5 shelf plastic one that I'm going to put in the garage. I'm going to pull the aluminum ones I have against the wall out of the wall, put this one against the wall. Then I'm going to put all of my paper products on that. So that's going to be toilet paper, paper towels, and what I call serving boats. So the serving boats, I'll have to get one of those. I'll have one for tomorrow night on the book review. But these are the little trays. They come in 2 and 5 pound boats or serving tray things. So when you order a hamburger and fries, you got your hamburger wrapped, and it's in this little cardboard. Looks like a boat, a lifeboat, and then on the other end you'll have your French fries. So I call them boats, or at least that's what we call them in the food service industry. And but that's what I buy because you can use that as a bowl. You can use it as a plate. It's far, far cheaper than buying paper plates or paper or styrofoam bowls or anything like that. So that's what I primarily keep as far as disposable food service products. and I'll have one here for you tomorrow night. I get those at Costco or at Sam's. You can get a whole bunch of them, very, very inexpensive. They end up being like 2 cents each or something like that. It's crazy, ridiculous. Um, okay, so David Lynn said he did a proper way to store rice and beans for long-term storage, which is great. So there are several different ways you can do that, and check out the ways that Prepper David Lynn is recommending. Um, let me see. Okay, and there's a reason why we are here at this particular point in time, and each of us has a skill, each of us has a knowledge and ability that we were put here to employ that skill. We call them KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. We were all put here for a reason, and so hopefully we can discern what that reason is and make it to the best fruition possible, and help others. And that's that one in Luke. When Jesus is asked what are the greatest laws, and he responds. First, he responds with the Shema, which is Shema is here in Hebrew, so it's Shema Israel. So hear, O Israel. Okay, and it says, "I am the Lord your God," and so that's the one that's supposed to affix to their foreheads, their wrists, and everything else, and on the doorposts of their homes. So that basically the first command, the first of the 10 commandments, I am the Lord the God. And then the second one is that you should love your neighbor as I have as yourself. So, that's basically what. If you take a look at Stephen Smith's books, the Stonemont series, he basically, when Judge Garner writes the laws for this enclave of people, they now need rules on how they're going to deal with each other. And so Judge Garner writes it based off the 10 Commandments plus the Shema and the love ye one another. So 12 rules, and that's it to govern this entire community. So I think that's fantastic. Let me see. Yes, well, you did not do bad. Prepper Dog is phenomenal. He's outstanding. I love him. As a matter of fact, he introduced me to Prepping by Faith. He introduced me to Alpine Preparedness. So he introduced me to a whole bunch of my great followers and other moderators. Alpine Preparedness is now way up north, almost on the Arctic Circle. I did hear from her. She is a geophysicist. She's a PhD geophysicist. So she's way up on the Arctic tundra doing all kinds of research stuff for somebody. And her husband is an emergency helicopter pilot. And so they do rescue work up in there. She's also an EMT. And but I did hear from her. She, as a matter of fact, she liked my explanation about the geomagnetic ball and magnet and everything else. And so she forwarded that to her followers here day before yesterday. And so that's the last time I heard from her. Prepping by Faith is a fantastic channel. I strongly recommend her. Prepper Dog is fantastic. David Lynn, I like his channel. Here's a simple rule. If you want me to follow you, I will. I have not unfollowed anybody. Okay, I may not watch you because I disagree with you, but I won't unlike you because those likes are important, and I want you to continue. You're just not for me. You may be for other people. You may not be for me, and I'm not talking about anybody here right now. But if, on the other hand, you feel a compulsion to do response videos and try to negate somebody else, and you don't have any scientific proof, and then you say, and if you doubt me, research it yourself, or if you talk badly about other people, if you and I don't care who it is. I just don't want any bad mouthing of other people. We're here to try to do this together. We're not here to cast aspersions upon other people. Then I just won't watch you. That's all there is to it. And so I would ask you to do the same thing here. That's why I ask you to please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. We're trying to build a community of like-minded people. And when I say like-minded, I don't mean we all agree on everything all the time. What I'm saying is We're here, we have a goal, and our goal is to survive whatever happens in the near future. And so we do that by discussing things, by sharing things, by correcting each other when we believe that we have more current or better information, by helping each other, and building each other up and praying for each other. And so that's what I consider to be a dynamic community where we can share knowledge and information and improve the overall survivability of each and every one of the people who is here watching. Is Lake Travis man-made? Yes, it is. It is dammed up. There is a dam. So in 1932 or 1933, I forget which, you had what was called the Rural Electrification Act, REA. So Congress wanted to get power out to the farms. In 1932, 1933, 1932. And remember, this is also right into the beginning of the Great Depression. So they were trying to get rural electricity out. And so they created the Rural Electrification Act. Boom, the Great Depression hit. Congress could no longer fund. The two major programs that they wanted to fund were the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Lower Colorado River Authority. So what happened was the state of Texas entered into an agreement with the federal government. The federal government fully funded the Tennessee Valley Authority, their series of dams. And so that provided all the electrical power for Tennessee. The Lower Colorado River Authority was a joint venture between the federal government and the government of the state of Texas. To this day, the LCRA is operated and maintained by a conglomeration of federal and state officials. So the LCRA built a series of 5 dams on the Colorado River, and one of those Lake Buchanan, Inks Lake. There's 5 different major lakes, and one of those lakes is Lake Travis, and that is a caused because of a power generating dam has confined that. And so you have the 5, what we call highland lakes. Now, the one just below Lake Travis is called Ladybird Lake, and all that is really a wide spot in the Colorado River as it goes through west to east and cuts basically North Austin, actually downtown Austin from South Austin. But yeah, Lake Travis is formed by a dam. Let me see. Yes, and I'm growing some things out here because I want to attract some honeybees as well. So honeybees and okay, so thank you very much. We'll have to talk about that. Maybe someday I'll interview you on canning tips. That would be fantastic. Um, you're fine. Hello, Tofu. You know I'm always happy to see you. Yeah, Sutton's Days is phenomenal. She does fantastic videos as well. I really, really like her channel. Um, a lot of good information there. Um, local meat markets. Um, yeah, you can do that as well, especially the independent butchers. We don't have that many of them here in Central Texas, but you can. Um, I wish I could remember the name of that place I heard advertised on Glenn Beck today. Uh, but anyhow, yeah, yeah, and I would like to grow some trees in my backyard. I'm just not sure what I want to do. I don't like the mess of peach trees, and they don't grow tall. They kind of bush. They're more like peach bushes here in Central Texas. Now, when you get down to Fredericksburg, they grow into really big, tall trees. Pecan trees are great, but gosh, they are just so messy, and I don't know. I would really like to have cherry trees, but I don't think they're going to grow here where I am. So, um, so David Lynn says that he uses food grade bucket, Mylar bag, oxygen, and moisture absorbers to pack his stuff. So that is definitely one way to do it. Now, if you don't want to spend your money on an oxygen absorber, you're not sure about the amount of air that needs to be sucked up and everything else. I just use what are they called? The original plastic sealing bags. As a matter of fact, I bought a new one. It's in my new haul. I just kind of put it through that. And so what I have found out, and I put them inside of a bucket as well, a food grade bucket. What I found out is remember that uh, the ice, dry ice is actually compressed carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen. So if you take a piece, probably about tip of your thumb, piece of um, carbon dioxide, dry ice, and you have a whole bunch of buckets and put one of those thumbfuls of dry ice in each bucket and just let it melt. What happens is that the carbon dioxide fills up the bottom of that bucket, pushes all the oxygen up to the top and over the lid, and then you can seal that. And that's the same as using the oxygen absorbers for the bucket, not necessarily for the packages, but you can do the same thing with the packages. Just you want to make sure you have them standing upright, and you want to make sure that you leave them open while it uh, melts, or else you'll end up with exploding plastic bags all over the house. Um, wow. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Alaska Prepper is the one who was putting out the word today that the beef he expects beef prices to really, really go up high here in the very near future. And I didn't get to watch all of that. I watched a little bit of it. I today was a double doctor's day, so I'm at that point. So you can the way Medicare takes care of if you have acupuncture for degenerative spine disease like I have, then for the first 3 months of the year, I can get acupuncture once a week. So I get 12 visits that they'll pay for in the first 3 months of the year. Then I get a total of 9 visits for the rest of the year. So I spaced them out one day a month. And today was my acupuncture day, and I really needed it. And then I also got my allergy shots today. So today was kind of a double doctor's day, and not a very pleasant one at that either. Um, So electric pressure canner, okay. And there is another one, and I'll try to find it. I think I might be able. I think I might know where it is. I have another device that I did. So you just get the regular canning jars, okay. Then it has basically a map tack. If you know what I'm talking about, it's kind of like a little. Uh, it's got a tack, just like a thumbtack on one end, but it's got the little thing, different colors you can put in the board, and it shows. Most people use the whole things to a cork board or something like that. Uh, but he's got one of those, and so you pierce the top of your seal with that. You put whatever you want inside the jar, and then it's got this syringe type of an affair that you can push down on, and as you push down, it sucks the air out of the jar. And then you have this little flap. So it's a little rubber flap with a sticky part here. So you put the little sticky part on the solid part of the lid of the can, and the flap goes over that hole. So once you've sucked all the air out, the flap goes up like this while you're sucking the air out. And then, of course, that vacuum sucks the flap back down inside. So now you have a rubber seal that keeps the seal on that jar, that mason jar or cur jar, after you've sucked all the air out. So I'll see if I can't find that. And if I can, I'll put it in the show notes. Please don't expect me to have all the show notes taken care of before about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So, I will try to get it done, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. We are almost at 9 o'clock. So let me see if there's any other comments or questions here. Um, used to work with a friend from Wisconsin. Wisconsin cheese because it's the best I've ever had. Yes, I have a cousin who lives in Wisconsin, and she brings me cheese when she comes down. Her son was the one who came back from Afghanistan. He was on the lieutenant colonel's list, and the second week after He came back from Afghanistan. He was on a motorcycle and was killed in a motorcycle accident at Fort Sill. So I went to his funeral in Lawton, Oklahoma. But anyhow, his wife is an Army nurse, and she's now a lieutenant colonel. She's stationed down at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. So my cousin flies down, and she'll land at Austin Bergstrom, spend a couple days with us, then I'll drive her down to San Antonio so she can visit her daughter-in-law and grandkids. So she brings me Wisconsin cheese when she comes down. I forget. Oh, I know who it was. No, it's Angry Prepper. I need to tell Angry Prepper. Angry Prepper last night on one of his lives was talking about he was looking for a good honey whiskey, and I don't have a honey whiskey, but I do have Drambuie, which is honey Scotch whiskey. So I would recommend that to him. But that's a different channel. That's a different conversation. Um, Let me see here. Let me know how that goes. Keep me informed, please, because I have not yet invested in a pressure cooker other than my can cooker and my, uh, what's the other one? Instant Pot. So, but you don't use Instant Pot for canning. So those are the only two pressure cookers I have. Um, yes, yes. I've got so much junk that I'm just at the point where I'm just throwing stuff out like you would not believe. Um, Or another way, David, is if there's if some. So I think that the um, moderators have been doing a pretty good job. If the moderators, if they would catch up with that, then what they can do is they can just do the three dots and copy paste and get you the links for the people you want to follow fairly easily. Uh, okay. And so let me give me your answer. Do you think it would be worthwhile, and can I do it without turning people off if I were to give some classes on English grammar? And I can probably get Prepper Principal uh, to help me with that, David Lynn. But we might be able to get people some, understanding nominative and objective cases and everything else. Do me a favor. Give me a 1 if you think I should do it. Give me a 2 if you think it would be too controversial and people wouldn't get anything out of it. So if you would do that, that'll give me an idea where we can go. Yes, and I think we're going to be back to Depression era type stuff. So you're going to be a very valuable person to know. Um, wow, that's great. And so, and that's in Indiana. I'm going to take it because of your name. I would hope. Uh, Good Ranchers. Thank you, Shenanigans. That's it. And so yeah, it's Good Ranchers, and I think if you use the term Glenn, Glenn, as a discount code, you get like $30 off your purchase. And then you also get a pound and a half of free bacon, sliced free bacon. So, yeah, Rose Red Homestead does fantastic. She's a great canner too. What I do know about canning, I got from her, and she does scientific experiments with time and pressure and everything else. And I've watched a couple of hers that are just fantastic stuff. Um, well, and Holly, you make me jealous because in the military, of course, you can't ship that much weight, and so I gave mine away every time I had a permanent change of station, and that just kind of became disheartening. I left some of it with my parents, but then they moved, and Dad was civil service, so he had a weight restriction as well. So, sometimes you just lose things when you don't intend to. So, I am so happy that you were able to keep up with all that. Let me see here. Okay. I think that we're going to probably call it quits. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget, tomorrow night we have Enforcing Home. One of the things that I want to talk about tomorrow night, and so kind of think of it. If you have read the book, if you haven't read the book, then think about it anyway. What are we going to do for punishment of criminals in a post-apocalyptic world. And that's something that Steve Smith brought up in his books in the Stonemont series. That's something that's going to come in very important in this book that we're going to be talking about tomorrow night. Is we won't have prisons operating. We aren't even going to have operating jails. So, is there a difference between stealing a chicken and shooting somebody, attempted rape, um, all these different plethora of crimes that go on? How do you handle disciplining a minor crime? How do you discipline a major crime? And so those are going to be some of the questions that we're going to have to answer in the post-apocalyptic world. So I think as we have this discussion tomorrow night, so I've got 2 votes for yes for doing grammar, 3 yeses. I don't see any no's. So if we can think about that ahead of time, and so it looks like doing a couple grammar classes is going to be 3 yeses, no nos. So okay, that's it. So remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Let me get number 6 out here for you. I should have it memorized by now, and I don't. That's my old age. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So remember, we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, respectful to each other. And as I said when I started off the show, I changed my mind. I was going to do an issue this evening that I felt that the reason I was going to do it would be divisive, not constructive. And so I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure that we have a family that can help each other to survive whatever's coming. And we'll leave the trivial disagreements out there somewhere else so that we can all agree on one thing, and that is we're going to get through this together. Take care, everybody. Have a nice evening. Take care. Bye-bye.